Hey, hello everyone and welcome to Extreme Graphics Tech. My name is Angelo and today we're going to be talking about the RX 5500 XT. When this card came out, I have to say, it was a little bit on the... People were a little bit angry. It wasn't too much, but you know, the performance wasn't as good as the people were expecting, because many people were coming from the RX 570 and 580, so they were looking for a budget change, but this card didn't represent like such a good value at the time. But as I said before, for some reason AMD cards tend to depreciate in value faster than Nvidia cards. The Nvidia cards like the 1660, 1660 Super or 1660 Ti, from my point of view, they're still a little bit on the expensive side if you're looking for a used car. So when I had the opportunity to buy this one and just test it, because I was quite pleased with the 5600 XT, I thought, hey, why not give the 5500 XT a go? So I started looking for prices used online, and you could get this car from anything from around $75 to $95. Obviously you have to be lucky to get like the lowest price, but you can get it easier for around $85 to $90. So I paid actually $85 for this car, and remember when we tested the RX 580, I got that one for $80. So is it worth over the 580? Well, the first thing I will have to say is that we need to check the results, the videos, and then I'll come back to my conclusions. So I started with Doom Eternal. Again, we know it's very well optimized, and well, I have to say I was blown away. The performance of this game is just insane. We're talking 1080p Ultra Nightmare and we are over 100 frames per second. So I decided to up the ante a little bit, and now I tested at 1440p, and basically the performance didn't change that much. Yes, these are more closed areas and not so much open, but even the open areas, if it falls to 70 frames per second, this is still more than playable on this GPU. So we were to a very good start where, you know, we were talking about hundreds of frames with this GPU, which is quite good, especially for Doom Eternal, that you need all those frames. Then I tested with Spider-Man Miles Morales. In this case, you can see this is 1080p very high using FSR quality. Obviously, you can change to high or medium to not use FSR. It will depend if you like those techniques or not. I do prefer a better quality on effects and just a little, you know, reconstruction technique, but that's up to everyone. In any case, you can see the game is over 60 FPS all times, no issues whatsoever. However, I have to say that when you are in the city, in the traversal areas, and you're not traveling from one place to the next, the frame rate can drop to around 58 to 57 FPS. But, you know, it's a little thing. It's not that much to worry about. Horizon Zero Dawn, however, was I don't know, I was a little bit disappointed. The reason I was a little bit disappointed is because I had to play in original quality in order to achieve a 60 FPS stable frame rate, because when you use ultimate quality, which is the high in this game, it will go as low as 40 FPS. And I don't know, after seeing the results on the other game, I thought that we were going to be honestly playing this in ultimate quality. So I don't know, maybe this game doesn't, you know, it doesn't play very well with AMD cards, and we can use FSR because this game uses FSR 1.0, which is very bad. So I prefer to stay at 1080p original, and the game will run 60 FPS with no issue whatsoever. So that's something. Now, Hogwarts Legacy, one of the latest and beautiful games that everybody's playing. It ran, I have to say, honestly, decent enough. 1080p medium, no problems whatsoever. However, sometimes it can go as low as 45 FPS in some very specific case, not counting the stutterings. That's another story, but we are not taking that into consideration here. I'm talking about raw performance. So it can go as low as 45 in some very specific places, but in general it will stand over 50, and even when flying. So after seeing this, I thought, well, you know, I know people avoid to use things like FSR, but not a thing for me, so I decided to test it with FSR on in quality mode and keeping everything else the same, just to have an idea how much performance I will gain. And as you can see, there is a massive gain. As I said, don't count the stutterings. So you can see here that you have a more bigger play area if we want when it comes to FPS, because now we have like 10 FPS over 60. So I believe the game is still going to drop under 60, but it's not going to be as massive as going to 45 or something. So you can still play it around 55 to 70 FPS depending on the area. And as you can see here, well, I'm looking just at the sky and it goes above 80. But in general, I think the gameplays will benefit a lot if you use FSR quality. So I would recommend to use it even for those that, you know, they don't like reconstruction techniques. Because even in Dying Light 2, as you can see here, you can get very good results if you just use FSR quality. You can keep the game in medium. The image quality from my point of view still looks excellent, and you will get over 60 FPS. In this case, you can see sometimes going up to 70, 72. The problem is if you don't use FSR quality, then you're going to get under 50 or around 50 sometimes, which, well, for some it may be better to get for around 50 FPS with no reconstruction. I prefer the fluidity of being able to cap the game at 60, and note that 98% of the time it will be at 60 FPS and not going down. So yeah, you choose your battles. My battle is reconstruction technique. The last game I'm going to test today is Red Dead Redemption 2. I was expecting to have to fiddle more with the settings, but now just 1080p middle balance preset settings. I know there is optimized settings for this game, the Digital Foundry ones, for example, but I just use the preset because it's easier for you to get an idea when you are testing it yourself if you want to get more or less performance. So from this point of view, you can see it's an area that is very heavy, it's raining, it's at night with lots of light, and we still get quite a decent, stable, around 60 FPS performance. It's not perfect, but I think this is a very demanding part. So in general, I don't think this game will have much trouble with the RX 5500. So before I start with my conclusion, I have to ask you to like this video and subscribe, please. That helped me a lot. I'm trying to build this channel for everyone, and I need your support. So just clicking subscribe will help me a lot. It's free and you don't have to pay anything. So why not? Anyway, what are my conclusions after testing this car? Well, I think it's a very good car, especially now for the price. When it came out, the price wasn't that good considering if you were coming for an RX 580. However, right now for $80 to $85, I can easily recommend this car if you're looking for a budget car. However, if you're coming for an RX 580 or equivalent, I wouldn't recommend this car because I don't think the jump is going to be that big to justify the $80 price that you can get this car for. I will say if you want to do a jump from the RX 580, you have to go to something like the 5600 XT. So this one here, I will recommend from anyone that is trying to build like a budget PC now, from zero, their first PC, a second PC, and they are just looking for a, middle of the road card that is going to let them play like emulators and any game around 1080p medium to high settings, and even ultra or 1440p using FSR in some cases. But this is a 1080p card, okay? So don't go expecting more than that, but it could give you a nice surprise depending on the game. So as I said, the performance is very good. It's around 10 to 20% depending on the game faster than the RX 580, and that's the main reason why I don't recommend you to pay for $80 or $85 just to get that little gain over the RX 580. But I would recommend this car, for example, over the 6400. Because this one has encoded chip for video, for example, which is much better. Also, this car will work better with lower PCI Express bandwidth and so on, and it performs better. So I see no reason to buy the 6400, for example. I don't remember the 6500 at the moment, but especially over the 6400 because it has 8 gigs of VRAM, which already help a lot, and it has everything else that you want, like hardware acceleration for encoding videos and so on, which the 6400 doesn't have. Of course, you can get the 6400 new, and you basically can for this one because this is only on the used market. But it's not a very old car, so probably the most car you're going to be finding are going to be working very good. And this car wasn't very sought for mining, if that's something you are worried about. So this car is probably you're not going to find one that's being used for mining. And you can see that the market is flooded with them, and they work very, very good. So you're going to be able to make a very low power machine in terms of energy, because as you saw on the video, this car will work with like 100 watts of power. So you can make like a second computer that you can put on like on your living room, like an HTPC that allows you to also play video games with no problems with this little car here. It's really, really good for that. But as I said, I won't recommend anyone to jump from the RX 580 to this one just for 10 or 20% more performance. But as a new car, as a budget car, used car in that case, for building a new PC and just, you know, testing some games or playing some games on your TV, playing some emulators or anything else that you want to do, this car is quite good. You can play at the latest AAA titles. We tested Hogwarts Legacy. We tested the all Red Dead Redemption 2, but it's still a very demanding game and a beautiful game. And we tested many other games, and they run very, very well. So I will say, you know, if you want something on a budget to play video games, this car will do you good. I didn't test like Fortnite or Apex Legends or anything like that, because I was more like very quick testing. However, I can assure you, you will be able to play Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Warzone, no problems with this car at more than 60 FPS, as long as you set the settings right. And I think you don't even need to go to the lower tier, you just medium, you will be able to play, you know, all of those esports titles that people love so much. So this is a very good entry point level. Of course, if you the RX 580 is still a very good car, but I will say that if you find this one for $5 or $10 more than the 580 on your country, then you go for this one, because this one will give you better performance. I think $10 more will be good, and you know, it will be worth the investment instead of going for the RX 580, which I know is one of the more popular now because the prices have come down a lot. But however, still you can get it for like $80. So if you get this even for $90, I will go any day of the day for this one. So yeah, that's my conclusion, and I will recommend the RX 5500 XT to anyone looking for a budget 1080p car. Thank you very much, and see you on the next video.